Hi everyone and welcome. So we're going to make a little t-shirt for you today, just a very quick. Here I'm just showing you that we'll use the rice paper and I've pre-lightened underneath with a fabric acrylic paint from Imagination Crafts called the Soft Blends, so that when I put my bicycle image on it'll be nice and bright against the grey of the t-shirt. Here you can see the reverse of the paper and you can see the cotton and silk slab which gives it strength. We'll be using the Imagination Crafts fabric decoupage glue to adhere the images we've chosen on the rice paper onto our fabric. An easy way to get the images out from your rice paper is to use some water on a brush around the image you've chosen, and then carefully you're going to tear around that image. This will give you an exceptionally soft feathered edge, which really does work well onto your t-shirts, onto glass. It gives a beautifully soft finish, but you can of course cut the images out if you want a harder line using your scissors. Here I'm using more water from the brush and I'm lightly tearing and feathering it so I get closer to the edge of my image. We're now going to take our stencil from Imagination Crafts and I'm going to use the Crafts Companion Stick and Spray to add a light coating behind, so when we put the stencil down it's nice and tight to the fabric. That way you get a beautiful even coverage with your paints. Now we're going to be using the Starlight Textile paints. Again, once they're dry and the heat set these from the rear, they become machine washable as well. And we're going to apply them with a sponge roller. This is a normal decorator's roller, but you get a beautiful, soft, quick application with them. So now we're taking the sponge roller. I've used a plastic lid as my palette and I've just distributed some paints into there. Next, what I'm going to do is, I can't quite see it off camera, is I'm using the sponge roller to blend those colours nicely into my roller before applying them through my stencil. What you don't want is to have lots of blobs. You want to work it right into that sponge. That way you get a perfect application over your stencil, giving you a beautiful soft colour. And you can add highlights as you go along as well if you want to. Now for the reveal, we take off our stencil. You can see how beautiful detail on there, how soft the colours are. Now all I'm doing is I'm lining up and moving the stencil. It doesn't have to be lined up, but I'm moving it around so I can complete the background detail of the t-shirt. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but the white patch you can see in the centre is just there pre-lightened, ready for my rice paper afterwards. Just using a hairdryer on it just to make sure it's dry before we move on to our next stage. Now we're going to start adding some of our rice paper elements. These absolutely gorgeous bike that I tore from our butterfly sheet earlier on. Now to apply this, we're going to use our Imagination Crafts fabric decoupage glue and a soft brush. So you're going to apply the glue firstly on the rear of your image. We're now going to adhere it to the front of our fabric. So position it and then using the soft brush again and some of the decoupage fabric glue, gently go over the top of it, making sure that all the edges on the outside are sealed. There are no air bubbles underneath it as well. It is really important to make sure you have sealed this around there, especially around the edges. You don't want any water getting underneath it. What I tend to do is I would do over once, let it dry, and then I would apply a second coat just for good measure. Now to speed up the process, I'm using the hairdryer to dry my image so I can move on to the next step. So next, what I'm doing is I'm taking this 25 by 25 centimeter stencil plate here. It has numerous words on it, so I'm just choosing the one. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add some sparkle to this piece. Now we have the Imagination Crafts Textile Sparkle Paste in the gold. It's a very, very creamy paste, goes on like very, very soft butter with your palette knife. First though, what I'm doing here is I'm adding some tape to mask off the words I don't want to use, so that when I spread it through, I'm not going to catch the edges of the paste onto areas I don't want it. Now we've taped off the word we want, we are taking the palette knife, we use the back of the palette knife with the sparkle paste on it, and we're going to spread that very carefully through, keeping the blade of the knife as flat as you can. Remember, all excess just go back in a pot for reuse. Now we're going to lift the stencil very carefully up, holding the fabric so it doesn't bounce down and mark in any other area. We're then going to take a hairdryer and we're just going to dry it. Now that we've finished drying it, we're going to move on to our next stage. So we're going to actually add some more stencil. And I've got this lovely panel word stencil, and we're going to take some of our black soft blend paint and we're going to use ink blending tool, and we're going to pounce it through the stencil to add our further background designs. Just finishing off the last bit of stencil with my black soft blend paint, and then that is it finished. It's a very quick and simple beginner's t-shirt. I hope you've enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye.